All right, our third hour is up. So this time, let me discuss Paul's worldview and the need of recontextualization. So there are two further points of interest regarding Paul's eschatology. First, it's clear that Paul expects that he and some of the Thessalonians will be alive when this apocalyptic drama comes to be played out. He contrasts those who have died with we who are still alive, who are left until the coming of the Lord. I explained this in the previous hour that, these two groups of people will meet together, but this will meet Jesus first, and then those who are alive. For him, the end time was imminent. Yeah, he believed that Jesus is coming soon. Second, Paul's scenario presupposes a three-storied universe in which the world consists of up, where God is, and now Jesus is, and here, where we are, and down, where those who have died are. So up, here, down, three-storied universe, cosmology. According to this scenario, Jesus was here with us. He died and so went down to the place of the dead. Then God raised him up to where he is now. Soon he's going to come back down to earth on the clouds, i.e., from heaven above the sky, to raise up both those who are here, typo, those who are here and those who are down below. But those who are down below will be resurrected first, and then those who are here will meet Jesus second, elevating them to the clouds to live with him forever. So this is the eschatological drama that I explained in the previous hour. This scenario is based on an ancient way of looking at the world, where there actually was an up and a down in the universe. The first part of up is sometimes sevenfold or 12-fold. It stands in stark contrast, obviously, to our modern understanding of the Earth as the third planet of a solar system formed around a minor star, the Sun, just one of the billions of stars that make up our galaxy, which itself is just one of billions of galaxies in a universe. Since Paul's view of the world is wrong from our modern perspective of the universe, Paul's view of the world is somehow wrong from our modern perspective of the universe. Is his gospel message completely wrong? Since his worldview is different from ours, it is necessary for us to recontextualize Paul in his own context in order to do justice to his thinking, and then we could reapply his writing to our modern context in a more fruitful way. So Paul believed that above, here, down, but now we know that Sun is here and Mars is here and Earth is here, and then many other stars around the world, and then billions of galaxies and stars, right? Different. Where we are. Okay, now 2 Thessalonians. So what we have to do is we have to recontextualize, Paul's theology. In other words, what is his major message? And then we have to reapply to our modern context, rather than literally applying. Okay, literal application and finding a major message and then reapply to our modern context. This is our hermeneutical procedure that we have to do. But anyhow, 2 Thessalonians, the second letter that Paul sent to the Thessalonians. Obviously, when Timothy came back, probably he brought a letter from the Thessalonian church to Paul, and Paul read it. Or sometime later, Paul received a letter from the Thessalonian church, and now Paul is responding to them again. So in 2 Thessalonians, which could possibly have been written by Paul, answers three major concerns for the church at Thessalonica, which was undergoing suffering and affliction. This was the issue in 1 Thessalonians, but now it's the issue in 2 Thessalonians as well. 2 Thessalonians attempts to assure its readers that if they remain faithful, they would be rewarded when Christ returned in judgment from heaven. At the parousia, those who oppose them and reject their message would be punished with eternal destruction, but the saints would enter into their glorious reward. That is, eternal salvation, right? So you have to remain faithful. Those who persecuted you will experience eternal destruction, but you will have a glorious reward, that is eternal salvation. The second reason for the letter was that some members, this was the first reason, and now second reason. Some members of this Christian community had come to believe that the end of time had already come upon them and that they might have missed the parousia. So after having read Paul's letter, a previous letter, some of the church members believed that the end time had already come, and then the problem is they missed the parousia, they missed Jesus. That's a problem, because Jesus will come down and then he will go up with those Christians here in Thessaloniki, but they believe that he already went up. He came back and went up again. Now they are left here. Some people thought that way. Some of those who thought this found confirmation either in prophecies spoken by members of the congregation or in a letter that was beautifully written by Paul. So the author of 2 Thessalonians, claiming to be the real Paul, warns his readers not to be deceived. So the author of 2 Thessalonians, Paul says that you should not to be deceived. Whatever an earlier person may have asserted, the end had not yet come because there were certain events that had to be transpired first. So what Paul in 2 Thessalonians says is, before Jesus comes back, before parousia, there are some events that have to occur before parousia, and that includes also Antichrist, right? Antichrist. Yeah. So, what are they? Read this, okay? Next. Okay. The author describes these events in an apocalyptic scenario that sounds very much like what Jesus taught in Mark 13. If you read Mark 13, there Jesus explains that there will be an earthquake and famines and an Antichrist, and then there will come Jesus back again. So apocalyptic scenario. And what we find in Revelation as well. In Revelation we have 7 cups, 7 powers, and 7 angels, right? And then multiple events have to be occurred before the second coming of Jesus. A kind of Antichrist, this is very important, right? Before Christ coming back, Antichrist appears. A kind of Antichrist figure is to be revealed on earth before Christ returns. This lawless person is ultimately destined for destruction, exalting himself above every other so-called God or object of worship. He will eventually take his seat in God's temple in Jerusalem. Wow, the Antichrist will take his seat in God's temple in Jerusalem, declaring himself to be God. Wow, he declares himself to be God. This guy is completely crazy. The author reminds his readers that he fully informed them of this scenario when he was with them. In large measure, this letter assures the congregation that the end was not yet upon them, since this Antichrist figure was restrained for the time being. So this guy, Antichrist, was restrained for a time being, and the end time had not yet come. So don't worry too much about the possibility that we missed or you missed the second coming of Jesus. Third, finally, the third problem, some members of this church were so persuaded that the end was absolutely imminent that they had to quit their jobs and were simply waiting for it to happen. This is problematic. They thought that Jesus is coming soon, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, so they stopped working. They quit their job. They are meeting together in the church, just waiting for Jesus to come back. Their decision had a grave social implication. Those who kept their jobs were having to feed those who hadn't, and this situation of apocalyptic freeloading was a source of tension in the congregation. So some members did not work, others worked. So what happened? Some did not work, so others had to take care of them by buying a food for them. This is problematic, right? Apocalyptic preloading. In terms of quite reminiscent of 1 Thessalonians, the author reminds his readers how he and his companion had lived among them, working for their own meal and refusing to be a burden on others. He insists that they do likewise. In other words, although Jesus is coming back soon, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, you still have to work. Don't quit job, but work. Okay, that's the lesson that Paul delivers in 2 Thessalonians. All right, this was a quite remarkable letters written by Paul to the Thessalonian church. Pretty early, very early letters, and his message in the beginning was very apocalyptic. Okay, thank you so much for this lecture. I'll see you guys a week later. I'll see you.